everyone for being here, so to say. And I'm going to share the slide, and I mean, I can stay with you until quarter to 7, something like that. So let's try. I need to, would you please give me the possibility to share the slides? Okay. Let me find it. Okay. Here it is. All right. Okay. So my talk today would be about foundational economy in connection with the concept of citizenship, which of course includes the topic of migrants. And what is foundational economy? Simply speaking, is we tend to frame it as the economic infrastructure of citizenship. So the idea is that citizenship is effective if we all have access to a basket of goods and services which make our formal rights effective. The program derives the idea from Brodel, from the French historian Brodel, and it defined foundational economy as those mundane, daily activities which have these shared features. They are necessary to everyday life. They are consumed by all citizens, regardless of income or status. They are distributed. They connect people and households to goods and services through branches and networks. And typically, they are sheltered and or politically franchised. So to make, you know, some concrete examples, you have pipe and cable utilities. Of course, you have transports, retail, food production and processing, health systems, education, welfare, and we divide between so-called providential foundational economy, namely the usually social policies or welfare system, and material foundational economy. Okay, so pipe and cable utilities, transport, and so on and so forth. Here you have the book, which was published by Manchester University Press, and then it was, I mean, let me say that successful, because we already have 4 translations. The one in Italian by Einaudi, which is one of the most important Italian publisher. Then we have this very nice German edition, the Portuguese one, and very recently a Turkish one. Okay, so the idea is to spread the concept, spread the word, and try to influence the public debate, policymakers, and politicians. You know, someone once said that concepts that are useful to politicians should be very simple. It said that it needs something like 15 seconds to explain these concepts to them, and they can talk with this concept for 15 hours. Okay, so we need short and synthetic ideas to convey, you know, a deep message. And the foundational economy, we believe, has these features. And in fact, I mean, it has been adapted and adopted in various contexts, such as Wales, in some local cases in Italy, and so on and so forth. So as I said, so the intellectual, so to say, roots are in Brodel, which makes a distinction between 3 levels of economic life: the concrete, you know, realm of the economy; material life, the protection from natural risks in his original idea; market exchange; and high capitalism. So quite interesting. Is not the only one, of course, Brodel, which makes this distinction, especially from the distinction between market on one hand and high capitalism on the other. But we thought that these 3 layers were quite interesting in addressing the fact that, you know, in every context, if you like, in every historical time and spatial context, there is not one, but just several economies. Okay, and we transpose this schema in our foundational economy, the material life; competitive economy, competition and market exchange; and high capitalism, the international or world economy of long chain finance, which is dominated by big predators moved by, you know, rent and power. Okay, The group is an international group made of a number of scholars from Manchester University, Cardiff University, University of Torino, University of Milano, University of Amsterdam, Madrid, and so on and so forth. The collective is open. We have a website which is called the Foundational Economy Collective, where you can download news, informations about workshop, and working papers and newspaper articles. Okay, so well, this is just a visual representation to help to explain what is the foundational economy and why it is useful to think about layers and strata and different realm of concrete economic systems. There are some, overlapping with other concepts, such as the famous donut economy, because of course, the foundational economy is the social foundation of the donut. So the idea that we have to build a solid and widespread basis for social rights without overshooting on the ecological scene. Okay, so there are overlapping with other concepts and with other frameworks which have been introduced in the recent days in the sociological and mostly sociological, also economical debate. Okay, so the idea is to build strategies, public strategies that are able to meet basic needs for all, everywhere and all times, in connection to air, water, energy, food, housing, as I said, the material and the providential. Okay, let's try to apply this concept to Italy, and which the case that I'm going to talk about is connected to the Italian case, but it has, of course, more broader implications. So in Italy, we have a national policy, which was one of the most innovative and interesting public policies of the last 10 years, which is called the National Strategy for Inner Areas. What are inner areas? Are those territorial places distant from the main key services like education, health, and mobility. When I mean distance, I mean distant in traveling times. It takes time to people to reach these key services. And the idea is that if it takes half an hour or 45 minutes or even more to reach an hospital, to reach a school, or to reach a train station with at least interregional trains, your citizenship rights are not as fully developed as the citizenship rights of people living nearby these services. So here you have, let me go to here you have the map. So this is the map of Italian inner areas. You see in green, you have the areas where people live from 20 to 40, from 40 to 75, and over 75 minutes far away from the offering of these services which are offered by the urban poles of attraction and by the intermunicipal poles of attraction. And then in the middle, you have the outlying areas, less than 20 minutes, okay? As you see, this map is quite interesting because it gives you back, a map of social injustice in Italy. It gives you back a map which is at the, quite fine-grained scale level. It means that it doesn't cut as the usual maps about this kind of phenomena do my country into two parts, north versus south. You have big spots of inner area in the northeast. You have big spots in the northwest. You have the center. You have inner areas by the coast, and so on and so forth. Of course, then you have differences between internal difference in the southern area of Italy. Look at the difference between Puglia and Calabria. Puglia has quite a number of poles, while Calabria is a big inner area. Not speaking about Sardinia and Sicily. Okay, so this was the map, and one interesting thing that this map has done is to give a name. That it was useful to give a name to a new kind of territory, or to a new kind of public need, because inner areas, of course, did exist objectively before the map, before the visual representation, if you like, but they were not a legitimate actor within the public sphere a legitimate interest in need of specific public resources. And what if there is one thing among the others that public policies can do is to give names to problems and to transform something in a legitimate public problem. Okay, so now we have a strategy for inner areas, which is try to experiment in these areas, innovative solutions for public services, as I said, health, education, and mobility, to improve the economic and social infrastructure of citizenship in areas where these services are lacking. One point is, I mean, how big is the problem? Which are the numbers of inner areas? Here you have some numbers. I mean, inner areas are the absolute majority of the territory, 60%. The absolute majority of the Italian municipalities, 53%, and 1/4, 1/5, 23% of Italian population. So it's quite big. It's a huge part of the country. Okay, so 1/4, 1/5 of the population, it's a lot, and 63% of the territory and more than 50% of the Italian municipalities. Okay, the problem is that these areas, they don't have political representatives. They are not represented in the political sphere for different reasons. First of all, we have suppressed the so-called intermediate institutions. We don't have any more institutions at the intermediate level connecting these areas to the centers. Second, the political election are designed using areas which include cities and inner areas, but the votes of cities are much more. So the votes of inner areas doesn't count in choosing their political representatives. Okay, so these areas are voiceless, are without political voice. And one thing that could be done is to build through the innovation in foundational economy and public services their collective voice. Okay, and this is what we are going to see. To do that, citizens of inner areas, both new citizens and old citizens, okay, people that have been born there and people that want to live there and people that are also pushed to live there, such in many cases migrants, must acquire the necessary knowledge and power to take control of the local commons, of the productive assets, of the key decision-making processes that are useful to build and renew the civic infrastructure of services in connection to education, healthcare, transport, but not just that, also food production, energy production. We have these interesting examples of the energy communities, cooperative communities, and so on and so forth. Okay. So in keeping this in mind, I mean, in saying that, we have to keep in mind three facts. First of all, that these territories, I mean, territories generally speaking, and in this case more than in other case, are to be seen as strategies of groups, not scales. Okay, this is the very famous local trap, as you know. Okay, territories are strategies of groups that can be inclusive or extractive, strategies of elites that can be inclusive or excluding the others. Okay, strategies of elites that can work for the benefit of all, or strategies of elites that can work for the rent position, okay, rent seeking of few selected powerful individuals or groups. This is the first point. The second point is that these strategies, as I said, are connected to social groups. The third point is that this, the rebuilding and the renewal of the civic infrastructure need to be built on specific business models. This is really a constitutive point of the foundational economy. We need to be critical and to be aware of alternatives, business models of service of general interest. So it is not enough to say that something could be done. We need to show how this could be done and how this could be, so to say, economically sustainable. I'm not saying that it should be marketable, not at all, but you need to, to have an idea and to make clear how at the organizational level and the economic level, this can be managed in the equilibrium phase, okay? Not just thinking about and not just implementing, but thinking about the management idea. Okay, the management of the civic infrastructure. If you want to put it, shortly, we could say that citizenship, to innovate citizenship, you need to innovate the business model of citizenship. Okay, what is the business model of citizenship? How you can build a new one. Okay, so let me say something like to connect to the problem of citizenship. As I said, I mean, the foundational economy perspective, which is not a theory, is a frame. Okay, it's a frame that helps you to see things differently. Okay? It's like gender, or it's like something that helps you to see the world from a different angle. But once you start to see the world from this different angle, a lot of things that were hidden just became clear. The idea is that in producing, defending, managing both local commons and the key infrastructure, goods and services that helps the social rights, the rights of people, you act as a citizen in the eyes of the other. What we call, or me and Ian Rhys-Jones in the Foundational Economy and Citizenship book that was quoted, we call performative citizenship. So the idea that citizenship is not just something that one has, a set of rights, or has, or sometimes doesn't have, but is a set of, a set of performances, something that you perform in doing something in the eyes of, and by doing that, you are, observed by the others. So you display in the eyes of the other your role as a citizen, and the other do the same in your eyes. Okay. So the idea is that citizenship is a space of opportunity, because if you don't have the public stage, okay, the public set of opportunity to perform this citizenship acting, okay, you are not, it's not possible for you to be recognized as a citizen. In doing that, in acting as a citizen, in taking care of, a local common, as I said, or key goods and services of the foundational economy dimension, you just connect your need to a public project of good life in a fair society. Or put it in another way, you show to the others your capacity to aspire, to use the Appadurai concept. Okay, so the capacity to aspire need to be, practiced in the spatial dimension of the public sphere, if you like. Okay, in the spatial dimension of the public sphere, which needs to be built, which needs to be put in the concrete form by public action most of the time. So one specific function of the state in the light of the foundational economy is to build and restructure the public the spatial dimension of the public sphere. So places and opportunities and place-based rules where citizens of different kinds, as I said, new citizens, old citizens, can act together to take care of the civic or social infrastructure of daily life. As I said, in this case, you have a meaning shift from citizenship as a bundle of legal rights and responsibility, something that one has, from acts that have the potential to engender articulations with question of rights, equality, difference, justice, and democracy. Like citizenship, in this sense, is something that one does in the public sphere. Okay, using a sociological jargon, these are rituals of citizenship, namely, situated and focused interaction regimes with the same focus of attention, which gives to people the same emotions and symbols of group belonging. It gives them the collective identity of being together in that place, of doing something for the others. Okay, so the idea of performative citizenship in our proposal should be connected to this idea of Randall Collins rituals, which of course, as you know, are taken from Emile Durkheim. Okay, so we have the idea of citizenship, not just a performance, but as a specific and well differentiated and situated kind of interaction. The solidarity and the sense of group belonging that emerge from this kind of interaction regime and situated further is certainly very different from the one that we were used to, the class solidarity typical of, Fordist welfare capitalism. Nevertheless, it can be, the basis to build the shared aspiration to flourish according to a good life in a fair society, as I said, connecting everyday needs to large-scale aspiration and collective projects, individual needs and collective solution. The ritual of citizenship that, in our proposal, should be connected to the defense and management of the civic infrastructure, in other words, can be, useful to build or to fill what we call the vacant we. Okay, the idea that collectively together we are, going into a direction where my needs and my son's needs are connected to collective solution, open in principle to everyone who is able to participate in this interaction regime through performance. So it's not ascriptive, but it's performative. Okay, and this interaction regime should be open to everyone who is willing to enter and to participate in these rituals of citizenship. Thank you. Thanks for your attention. I